Welcome, 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 everybody. Welcome to the Integrative Wellness and Development Podcast. I am your host, whether you like it or not, Mike DeLuca. We are here tonight and we have an incredible show, a very important topic to talk to you about. I am required by law to tell you my Integrative Wellness and Development Podcast is not affiliated with any organization, any other group. We do not claim in this podcast or any podcast to be able to help you diagnose, prevent, treat, cure any particular illness, whether it's one we're talking about tonight or other conditions. This is strictly for education. We're going to be focusing on education, inspiration, and a little perspiration at times to talk about getting more information about things that impact our health, our well-being, our personal development, and our overall happiness. And tonight is a very, very, very important subject. Tonight we are talking about colon cancer. We're going to be talking about what it is. We're going to be talking about how it's treated. We're going to be talking about how it can be prevented. It's a big deal. Colon cancer, whether you know this or not, is the number 2 cause of death by cancer in the world. And it's the 3rd most common form of cancer worldwide. And it is preventable and it is treatable. Some statistics. In 2020, close to 2 million new cases of colon cancer were diagnosed around the world. By 2040, it's expected that number will grow to over 3.2 million new cases per year. And of that number, 13.5 million people have had to have surgery and an ostomy, which is removing either part of their colon, their intestines, and the predominant ostomy surgery is a colonoscopy. So colonoscopy, removing of the a colostomy and therefore wearing a colostomy apparatus. So my guest tonight is someone who is not going to talk to you about theory or statistics. She is going to talk to you about her personal experiences with this disease and with what life is like with a colostomy. And so without further ado, let me pull up a little overhead here, PowerPoint. And my guest tonight is someone who we've had on the show previously, back in the early part of the year. Very, very grateful that we have her back. Dr. Jane Durst-Pulkys. She is known by many names, but she's also known as the Colostomy Queen. And she has a website, thecolostomyqueen.com. We'll be talking about that. And I'm going to give you a little bit of background. I'm seeing that some of you who are in our audience did not attend the previous episode. So let me tell you a little bit about Jane Durst-Pulkys. She is a best-selling author and internationally recognized health and nutrition expert. And also now she is an educator and advocate for those who have suffered with colon cancer and are experiencing life with a colostomy. She is also a colon cancer survivor with a colostomy. Since March of 2024, Jane has been living with a colostomy bag as part of her treatment for colon cancer. She's going to talk a little bit about that. And she said that she was determined to go from being a colostomy bag-lady to a colostomy queen. And she is a queen. Her mission is to inspire others to live boldly and unapologetically, bag and all. And during our interview, Jane will share how she found the ability to face this life-threatening challenge, the hardest challenge she has ever faced in her life, and come out being stronger, braver, and more alive than ever. So with that, please help me welcome Jane Durst-Pulkys. Jane, welcome to our show.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you so much for joining us. And thank you in advance for the very, very important information you're going to be sharing with our audience. Uh, you know, Jane, this is a very, very private
hmm
experience you had, one that a lot of people are not really comfortable about talking about or letting family, friends, let alone thousands of people know. Um, what pushed you to share your story with us tonight and to do what you're doing to educate and help people deal with this?
That's a great question, Mike, but it was something that after experiencing all the things that went on with the cancer, the chemo, the radiation, the surgery and having this bag, I felt so frustrated when I actually left the hospital. I'm a nutritionist. I should know what I should be able to eat, with this type of thing. I was hoping that the nurses in the hospital would provide for me tools and techniques and where can I buy supplies and what supplies work better if you're a physical person or if you're not physical. But they truly did the best that they could. But they handed me a pouch, and inside that pouch were three different apparatuses, the bags and the tape and all the things that you need. And the nurse said to me, just don't eat a kale salad tonight. And I thought, oh, Meg, if I ate a kale salad, that would have killed me. So I left the hospital, not really, I was frustrated because there should be so much more information available to people to help them navigate, because right after the surgery was one of the most difficult times that I ever had from on all levels. And I really, truly wished I had the support. And the funny thing about this whole thing, even from the moment I was diagnosed with colon cancer through the treatments, there was something inside of me that said, your job when this is all over is to help other people navigate this process and to help them, to guide them. And with talking to one of my friends, he and I had lengthy discussions about there really isn't the resources available. Sure, you can go online and you can read what you can eat, what you can't eat. But what about what do you wear and how do you exercise and how do you get over the fear of having an accident? And trust me, I've had many, many of those accidents happen. And also, I wanted to destigmatize this because I'm actually, in some ways, I used to be quite a vain person. And now this is like, I'm bearing my soul because this is a huge cancer problem. This is something that we really need to help other people, particularly, well, men too, but women, because the people I've spoken to since this has happened, they are all kind of either depressed or hiding their houses, or they don't want to go out. They don't put their white pants on. Certainly not wanting to go swimming, to do all those things. And I thought, this doesn't have to be this way. There is so much joy and life to be lived, and I certainly didn't want to be hiding in my house and afraid to go anywhere. So that's where the Colostomy Queen was born. And we're already seeing incredible response to it. It's funny, before we were talking, I was in a restaurant on Friday and a woman came up to me and she goes, oh my God, you're the Colostomy Queen. And I've never met her before. And she goes, I've been following you. And I so wish that my mother got to see your videos, because this would have helped her so tremendously, because she didn't have the support. And that really just reaffirmed why I'm doing this, because I want to be an advocate for this. I want to make it, I want to really destigmatize it, because it sort of has lots of negative connotations that I've learned. But honestly, it's just, as you live with this, it really, honestly, it's not a big deal. But it's really what is a big deal is the attitude you choose. And we'll talk a little bit more about that a little bit later.
Um, you created this platform, the colostomyqueen.com. And I went to it. It's filled with a lot of really important information. But I noticed that you took the time to take people through the journey, that there is a journey. There's a journey that begins with detection, diagnosis, and then after that, there is a whole journey that deals with treatment and recovery.
Right.
And I want to plug this immediately for folks. So please write this down, thecolostomyqueen.com, and I will put it in the chat. But we're going to talk about a little bit later the free downloads that Jane is offering to you. That is the collection of a lot of the helpful information that she's gained from having gone through this. And again, we mentioned this is one of those forms of cancer that can be detected with early detection. And I remember having my attention called when I saw an episode of Katie Couric, and you might want to tell that story where she actually went on the air and had her colonoscopy, which is a screening done with a camera that goes in and takes a look inside your the reverse track of the inner. It's the outer track, and as they're able to film everything that is inside of your colon and large intestines. Could you talk a little bit about detection? How can we take the first step to go and get detected and checked out to see whether if we have it or we have the potential of developing it, because they can check that too, that you have a potential and really nip it, before it even becomes a problem.
In the butt.
Literally nip it in the butt.
Mike, I've always been addicted to Dateline in 2020 and all those shows, but I actually saw an episode probably over 20 years ago where Katie Couric was mourning the loss of her husband because he died. He actually physically died from colon cancer. And I took that information and I buried it inside of me, but it never left me. And I'm a nutritionist. I drink lots of water. I exercise every day. I only eat fruits and vegetables. The worst thing I ever ate was like a potato chip. I'm not addicted to sugar. And fiber was a big thing in our household. And my dad used to say, if you keep, and I'm going to swear for 1 second, if you keep eating all this fiber, you're going to be shitting wicker furniture. So, we really did have fun because I was really obsessed with making sure the colon was working. And, as I got older, I got the notice in the mail from the government, it's time to have a colonoscopy, and I ignored it. And then I got those little packages in the mail where you could just take a swab of your poop and shove it in the envelope. And guess where that was when I was detected with colon cancer? It was still in my drawer. So nobody's immune from this. And I really, really encourage people to take the time. It's not a big deal. You get put out, you have to drink some nasty stuff for a little bit, but it's your insurance policy to make sure that this is something that doesn't get you. And I do very much regret not having done the test. And I'll tell you what happened to me. I was actually in Bali for a hot yoga retreat. And then I was going to spend 3 weeks with my friend in Bangkok. And when I got to Bali, I'm in the world's most beautiful place in the world. I noticed that I had blood in my stools. And I thought, you know what? It's probably all those nuts and seeds that I eat. It's probably a fissure. It's probably just too much fiber. But I noticed it every day. And when I got to Bangkok, my friend said to me, Jane, if it's bright red blood, this is not a good sign. And as soon as you get back, you really, truly need to go and get a colonoscopy. So the blood never stopped. It happened every day, and it did start to concern me. But I did have a deep sense of calmness about it, which was interesting. And I went in for the colonoscopy, and I woke up to 4 eyes staring at me, and 2 doctors turned to me and said, "You've got colon cancer." And I was like, "What? Are you talking to me?" Like, this is something that I never even imagined. And I got up from the table. The doctors informed me that you need to come back tomorrow to see us. We need to talk about the treatment, what we're going to do, how we're going to do this. I know this is terrible news for you. Do you have somebody to drive you home? My husband was waiting in the waiting room. I go outside, I tell him, and we both had this very interesting sense of calmness about it. Yes, it was an earth-shaking news to be told, and you really, it's something quite challenging to process. But because I have such a strong inner faith, I actually felt on some level I was going to be okay. But I still have to be very careful and still go through the protocol. So we met with the doctor the following day, and he outlined that, you know, we want to do chemo, we want to do radiation. And if that doesn't work, we're going to, we'll probably have to do surgery and all this. Now, I'm a holistic nutritionist, so this is kind of going against every vibe in my body, but I'm listening very carefully, but I'm also noticing something while I was in the room with him. He had crucifixes and pictures of Jesus everywhere. And I finally just looked at him because I was just so overwhelmed. I just said to him, you know what? I'm really glad he's here today. And he took my hands and he said, honey, if you have faith, you're going to be fine. And I said, I have tremendous faith. I have my own spiritual path. I have tremendous faith that everything's going to be okay. So we set it up. And that night, I had 2 dreams. In the first dream, I was at the cottage with my 3 grown sons. And on the dock was an ostrich. And the ostrich was trying to fight with my boys. And eventually Russell, the youngest, fell into the water. And the ostrich, he had to beat this ostrich off. And eventually the ostrich drowned. He got back onto the dock. And I Googled, and I can't remember exactly what it was, but I Googled the spiritual meaning of an ostrich. And it was something to do with having to go through a difficult time. But Russell was able to actually manage to sort of fight this guy off. And then I went to the bathroom, I came back, I had another dream. And in the dream, I had my wallet stolen. And all my ID and all my money was stolen. But the police came to my house and returned my wallet, even though there was no ID in it. And I knew in that moment that for me, it was what I call a waking dream. So the identity that I saw myself at that moment was going to be stripped. And it was then replaced back to me because now I'm clearly clearly gone through another experience. But the other thing was the next day, because I really believe in all this and I really listen to the signs from the universe, a very, very good friend of mine who worked for me for many, many years, who works actually at the hospital where I had my chemotherapy. We went to a yoga class the next morning and she goes, I have to talk to you. This is the craziest. I've had the most vivid dream of my entire life and I need to talk to you after class. And I said, sure. She goes, Jane, you and I, you told me to grab my black briefcase and to come with me. So I'm guiding her along the edge of a cliff and we're just walking. It's a hot summer day and there's 2 doctors in front of us that she worked with at the hospital. And one of the doctors fell off the cliff and she tumbled down to the water and she was swept away by the currents. So I said, Amanda, we're going down, we got to go save that lady. So we made our way down through this rocky escarpment, very difficult to get down, hanging onto that briefcase for dear life. And when we got to the bottom of the hill, the woman was gone. But what we noticed was one of her colleagues was across the way of the water. Now, at this point, there are rapids. The water is flowing so hard. There's rocks, there's trees, there's everything. And she's screaming for help. And she goes, Jane, you took your briefcase and you made your way across the water. You climbed to the shore, you grabbed her by the hand and you brought her back. But it was a very, very difficult process for you to get her back up. So through my whole process of having colon cancer, I knew that at some point I kept saying to her, okay, I'm halfway across the water. I've landed on the other side. I've got the lady. I'm on my way back. And that really helped me because I knew that I was in for a challenge. I knew that my attitude was 100% critical in managing everything. But what I didn't want to do was I didn't want people to start to feel sorry for me. So I didn't even actually tell my own boys until this was April. I had a colonoscopy. I started radiation in July. So I never said anything to anybody except for my husband and a couple of close friends because I wanted to live normal. I didn't want my kids to say, Mom, you can't help out at the birthday party for 5 grandkids. I really just, I wanted to completely live life. And eventually I did tell them, which was one of the hardest things that I ever did. And so in July of 2023, I was scheduled to start my radiation at a different hospital. And I thought, you know what, we're going to do this and we're going to do this with as much grace as possible. So I got in my car every morning. I went to my hot yoga studio. I did a hot hit class. I was at the hospital by 8 o'clock in the morning. I was back at my desk by 9 o'clock. And I worked through the entire thing because I didn't want, the radiation took a lot out of me. I'm not going to lie. From a nutrition perspective, I lost a lot of weight. I didn't have a lot of appetite, but I really just wanted to manage that whole process. And I actually bought myself this pillow. It was a heart. And I sat on it every day and I did positive visualization. I also journaled through the entire time. And I want to read you something that I wrote on, when was it? July 15th. Dear tumor cells, you know you don't belong in my body. Not sure how you forged your way in, but I'm doing my best to eradicate you. I know that your cells like to do very funny things, but the jig is up. My cleanup crew is on board and doing a great job, so you can leave anytime. Thank you very much. So I was able to connect with the highest part of myself and to gather as much personal strength and positivity because I knew there was only 2 ways to deal with this, to look at it from a positive perspective or a negative. And the negative was too harsh for me. So, I mean, I'm not going to lie, it was very, very challenging. But simultaneously in July of that year, one of my brothers, he likes to cliff jump. And he decided that he was going to cliff jump into the water 5 more meters than normal. So instead of doing a 10 meter, he did a 15 meter. And he missed. And he landed on a rock with both of his feet. And he's 63 years old. He was taken to a hospital north of Toronto. His feet were obliterated. He was basically in a hospital with 2 bars through his ankle bones and couldn't move. And my heart went out to him so much because when he was in grade 9, he had an injury in football where somebody had twisted his pelvic bone and he was in a body cast at home for 9 months, from his chest down to his feet with one leg exposed. And my heart just opened up to him. And so after my radiation at 8 o'clock in the morning, I made my way upstairs to go visit John. And it was interesting because I knew when I visited him, I had nothing to complain about. This poor guy can't even get out of bed. Is he going to lose his feet? Are they going to be able to put these bones back together? And what evolved from this experience was it was a love story. We bonded on a level that was remarkable for both of us. My heart opened, his heart opened, and I was so grateful that I was able to be there while I was at that hospital. He can walk now, which is amazing. That doctor put every single bone back together, which was amazing. So I finished my radiation in July, and I'm going to say I was a bit of a sorry sap. I was pretty run down. but I kept my head up high. And if you saw me in the street, you wouldn't have known. I kept on working, still didn't tell any people, would rest in between. And now I have 1 week to rest before I start chemo. So we have very good friends that have a condo in Costa Rica. And I talked to Jeff, and Jeff said, Jane, just go use the condo. I had, cancer myself. Just go use it. Just pay the cleaning lady. Don't worry about anything. So off I went by myself because my husband was working. And I've been there many times. It's a gated community, very safe. And when I got to the airport, I got into conversation with a gentleman, and we just chatted for 10 minutes about the weather and where he's going, blah, blah, blah. Anyways, I landed in Costa Rica, so happy to be there because I knew that the heat of the sun and the salt water would be very healing for me. He came over to me and said, by the way, a whole bunch of suitcases came off the turnstile over there. Your bag is probably over there somewhere. And I said, well, thank you very much. So I go over and there's my bag. I get my bag. I jump into a taxi. I get to the condo. I unpack my bag. I now make my way down to the grocery store. Now, this condo is 45 minutes away from the airport. So, it's a bit far. And I'm in the produce department picking up mangoes and papayas because I knew I could eat those. And there he is, standing right beside me. And I'm like, what are you doing here? And he goes, what are you doing here? I said, well, I have the C word and I'm here to heal. He goes, wow, my wife has it too. And he goes, and I own 2 condos here, so I'm here to take care of them before the season starts. And we chatted about family. He's got a bunch of grandkids. I have a bunch of grandkids. And we must have chatted for 45 minutes. We had an instantaneous connection. And he said, do you want to meet for breakfast tomorrow? And I said, sure, no problem. So I meet him for breakfast. He takes me all over the island, places I've never seen before. And like an angel, he picked me up every night, took me to a different restaurant. It was so lovely. It was literally like spirit sent me this person to help me navigate this because I was okay to be by myself, but it was so nice to be with somebody who understood exactly what I was going through. And we ended up going back to Costa Rica at Christmas time. His wife was there. My husband was there. We ended up going for dinner with them for at least 3 times. And now we're really, really good friends. So I was very, very happy about that. So now I landed in Toronto. Chemotherapy is going to start September 13th. And I'm about to jump out of my body because I look up at all those bottles and I think this is the last thing I ever truly wanted to happen is to take those drugs and have them in, it's a 4-hour process of this IV. And my best friend came and we sat there, and Amanda, the lady who had the dream with the lady across the water, she worked downstairs and she said, do you want me to come up? And I said, no, if you come, I'm gonna lose it. And so she sent me a picture, just pull those big girl panties up. And so she sent me a picture of these ladies' underwear. And every treatment I went for chemo, the underwear got bigger, bigger, bigger. So keep pulling the big girl pants up, keep pulling them up, which made me feel it's okay. We can do that. So I managed to get through that. But I also was writing a book and I had to finish my PhD. So I was really, really focused on going through this whole thing. It took a lot out of me, but what was interesting about it is every morning when I woke up, I surrendered. And I talked to my body with love and kindness. And I will say this, I never fought cancer. That was not my fight. I did not fight it. I worked with it. I sent it love. I used my pillow to send those little positive guys up my butt to clean it up and to really to heal myself because I needed to live. I have so much more that I want to do, and I choose to surrender and I choose positivity. And simultaneously, my friend was going through lung cancer at the same time, and we had chemo twice together. And she was very angry and it was hard for me. And I tried to encourage her, to think positive, but it really was a chosen attitude. And I'm so glad that I chose that attitude. Chemo was tough. It really, really, really was tough. I ended up having to wear a go for chemo for 4 hours, and then they gave you a bottle that you had a PICC line through your chest, and then you had to wear a bottle on your belt for 2 more days. And I was working and trying to hide the bottle because it looks like a pop bottle. And basically they're treating you for 72 hours with that. And then on Saturday mornings, I would have it taken off. And one day I showed up 2 hours early and she said, "It's not finished yet. You need to come back." It's like, "Oh, no, take it off now." But yeah, that was tough going through Christmas. I had my 65th birthday in bed, which I always thought that birthday would be amazing. I ended up wrapping presents. It was Christmas time. It was really, really challenging for me, but I thought, no, we're going to get through this with grace, and we're going to get through this with a very clear vision. And this is when I started to feel that I needed to help other people when this was all said and done. And so chemo finishes January 13th. I take my friends out for dinner. We all celebrate. It was a happy, happy, happy day for me, because I had lost my appetite and it was challenging and I wasn't able to exercise the way I'd like to. And 1 month later, the doctor said, "We need to do another colonoscopy." Sure, no problem. So I go in for the colonoscopy and he says to me, "All the 30 rounds of radiation and the 9 rounds of chemo did absolutely nothing to your tumor." And I'm like, "What?" He said, "Yeah, it didn't do anything. It didn't shrink it at all." And I'm like, wow. He goes, "I need to do surgery." And I'm now thinking, I've already been through hell. I don't really want to be doing this. And then I was a little hesitant about it. I talked to a couple of friends, and one of them is a colleague who's a doctor. And he said, "Jane, people die from this. You need to have the surgery." Because I thought, well, maybe holistically, I could treat it with more natural things, which I had tried to do because I worked with a naturopath through the whole thing too, but nothing was touching it. And so my surgery was scheduled for March 1st, 2024. And when I went into surgery, I met with a doctor just prior to it. And he said to me, "If you wake up in the morning, the bag is on your left side, it's permanent. And if you wake up, it's on your right side, I can reverse it." So I said to him, "Okay, Dr. Suarez, I'll do this on one condition. I want a Louis Vuitton bag or I want a Chanel bag." And he said to me, "Honey, I only do Gucci bags." So we had a big laugh about that because, again, this was a choice, laugh or cry. I had to have some fun here and, keep my own self, above this because it was quite overwhelming. Anyway, so I woke up from the surgery. It was 8 hours long. And I woke up and the nurse came in and it was on my left side, which is permanent. And I looked at the stoma, which is the actual part of the intestine coming out of your body. It's quite swollen. And I looked at it and I said to myself, "You and I are going to be friends right now. And your name's going to be Florence. So get ready because we're going to become friends because I am not going to let this define me. I am not going to hide. I am going to live life the fullest." And I walked out of that hospital almost with a smile on my face, but I wasn't smiling 100% because what he failed to tell me is that in order for us to do the surgery, we must close your bum hole, completely closed. So they sew you inside and they sew you outside. Well, those 2 months after, I physically could not sit. I couldn't get in the car. I was in excruciating pain. I had to go back to the hospital at night, midnight, and the nurse says to me, "Honey, take a seat." I said, "I can't because I'm here because I can't sit down." So that was tough. It took 2 months for that to heal as I'm still dealing with just getting used to the bag. But I will say the day I came home from surgery, I had a shower, I had some beef stew, and I had a client at 2 o'clock on Zoom. It's like, nope, life goes on. We're just gonna continue with life. In the healing part of the 2 months of the bum healing, I also had to go to Germany to present my book. And I didn't know how to go because I can't sit. That's a long flight. I ended up going business class, lying down, going there. I was in excruciating pain, had to sit at a conference for 2 days, came home, but eventually I ended up finding somebody who had the surgery, and he said to me, one day it just disappears. And so one day I woke up and it just disappeared. And so I thought, I'm going to start going back to my hot yoga classes. My first yoga class was 2 months after the surgery. I walked out of that class and I'm like, I'm back. Went to the store, bought 4 pairs of shoes. And I'm like, I'm back. This is good. I can shop again. But I had so many moments of not knowing what to eat, not knowing what to wear, not, having to really change my wardrobe quite a bit. And then I was given different types of bags, and these systems they provide that you buy, they're quite expensive. And some of them are really cumbersome and some of them are easy, and you can't change a bag on an airplane, and it was just like a nightmare. And a friend of mine, actually my hairdresser, she told me about a place where she had a client where she bought all her products. And I ended up going to a place where I got all the products, and I met with the owner of that. She's a Stoma nurse, and she told me that here's the bag that you really need to use. And since then, I've been using this system, and it's worked beautifully. Do I have accidents? Yes. Do I feel like I'm a baby with a diaper sometimes? Yes. Do I have to wear a diaper on an airplane? Yes. Do I get nervous about going out and doing things? Sometimes. But it doesn't stop you from living. It really just I have to be cognizant of it. I'm very aware of all of this, but I came through this. I got to the other side. I had my briefcase in hand. I made it to the other side, and I'm now here with you, Mike, because I've had so many conversations with people who are going through this, and they don't know what to do, and they are upset, and they are sad, and they feel like their life has been taken away. I will tell you that I have never lived more fully than I do now. I do 4 90-minute hot yoga classes a week. I swim a mile a week. I walk 10,000 steps on the days off. I just live, and I do not let any of it. And it was funny because I thought, I can't go into that change room and let people see my bag at the yoga studio. And I thought, you know what? Forget that. If they want to look, they can look. You know what? It is what it is. So I have no problem flopping that bag around in the change room because this is who I am. And it has not defined me. It's made me more sympathetic. It's made me so aware of how many people are suffering. Like when I was going for radiation, that room was full of people. There are so many people. You don't know what people are going through in life. And now I have the utmost empathy for people who are going through anything, because we often try to just put on a brave face when you walk out the door, but everybody's got something going on. And if I can make a difference for one person with this, then I've made a difference, and I'm very grateful. Yeah, and much more to come.
That's quite a bit. That's quite a bit you shared in a short period of time, and I appreciate it. I'd like to backtrack for a little bit for folks who have not had an experience or don't know a whole lot about this. But when you have a colonoscopy, the idea is to be able to scan inside your colon to see if there are abnormal growths in there that could, and oftentimes they call them polyps,
Right.
which could be little teeny growths. And for the majority of the time, those polyps can be benign. But there is the unfortunate occasion where if a polyp is left on its own to continue, that polyp can then turn cancerous. And that's where the problems occur. You mentioned there are several treatment modalities. If caught in time, they can just surgically remove the polyp. and then maybe treat it with a little bit of radiation.
Mhm.
If chemotherapy is necessary because the polyp had developed a large tumor and there was a concern of it metastasizing, then not only is um, chemo involved, but a combination of radiation and chemo might be involved. It actually might be several rounds of chemo if the first round did not handle that. The second stage would be if a section of your colon had to be removed, and you talked about that because either the tumor did so much damage or so much of the colon had been infected, then they have to cut before and after the site of the tumor to make sure that they're not leaving any of it there to metastasize. That's where we then get into where you're not going to be able to eliminate normally anymore. They tie that out into a stoma, and you mentioned the stoma. The stoma is what peeks out outside of your body. And instead of us having to eliminate into a toilet, through our colon and our rectum, that's all sewn up. And now our elimination is going to come out of a tube into a bag. Now, that's a whole nother world. And we were talking about that. That's a whole learning to live a whole new life
Mhm.
because you have to care for that bag. You have to empty that bag. You have to clean it, change the bag. You have to clean the stoma, that attachment. So it is a very overwhelming thing to think about. And that's one of the things I'm so appreciative of what you're doing is that you're helping educate people before they go through the surgery to prepare for what it's going to be like. And then once they've had the surgery, to prepare for what it's going to be like for the next 90 days. I feel that's really important.
Mhm.
Proper education prior, right? Because we now know that if we do colonoscopies, if we do the stool sample screenings that are available. Also, studies have just come out that our diet, if folks have too much processed foods and too many preservatives and chemicals, that can contribute significantly to the development of colon cancer. So, education is so important for preventative. It's so important for being able to deal with this in a conscious, um, mindful, participatory fashion and not become a victim to it, but become a partner
Mhm.
to the healing with your body. And I love the attitude you had that I'm not fighting cancer, I'm working with it. There's something we all have to learn when something goes wrong in our body, and you and I were talking earlier that there's something for us to learn, not just for ourselves, but any experience we go through, we're also going through it because the learning we receive is going to help other people. We're going to touch hundreds, thousands of people in our lifetime, and we are going to be the conduit for information, for compassion, empathy, patience, and hope. And that's
Mhm.
really, really important. So, and again, I'm grateful if people go to the colostomyqueen.com, they're going to be able to download those two free guides, what happens before and what happens after. And they're going to be so much better prepared than most people
Yeah,
before
I
that
mean, I,
happens.
I I really wish I had some sort of guidance. I was like, I was pretty much in the dark. Every day something new was happening or a thing I had to go through, and I wasn't given any kind of support. So again, if I can help make people's lives better, it's great. It's interesting too, as you were speaking, I've always been, I've had this belief that things don't happen to us, they happen for us. And I know that's a really big thing to accept, but I truly believe it. It's almost like this was a necessary part of my spiritual development or journey into this world, because I have the energy, I had the stamina, I chose this attitude that that I could be able to be the person. Because when I talked to several people before we came out with the Colostomy Queen, they're like, "Oh my God, you're so brave. How can you possibly do this? It's like, it's almost embarrassing." And I'm like, no, this is real life. People are going through, you have no idea how many, and even when I go buy my supplies, there's people parading through that store all day. And what's interesting though, too, is that they want to run in and run out, even though everybody in the store has a colostomy bag, but it's still got that little bit of stigma. And I'm like, settle down. It's okay. We're all here to help each other. And I was just so grateful to find that, because I was spending so much money, and that's part of the guide too. I was spending so much money on bags that didn't work or fit for me, and they're not cheap. And one week I went through 5 bags, and that's like, they're like $15 each, until I realized coleslaw is not a good friend for me. Brussels sprouts is not a good friend for me. Nuts and seeds, those are the things I've learned now with 16 inches of the colon removed, that I can't consume them. And every once in a while, I'll push the envelope, and then I pay a big price the next day. And on a funny note too, when you have a colostomy bag, Florence, her friend, and when she's not a happy girl, she's Florence Elizabeth, she can make quite a bit of noise too. So, and she's loud, and it's like you're farting through your stomach. So when I was in Germany and I had to present my book, my friend Melissa was with me, and I said, "Melissa, if she makes any sounds, you need to cough." So at the end of the presentation, they all probably thought she had COVID, because she's coughing, because this thing was just making a racket, and it was new, right? It was only like a month old. And now when it happens, I always just, I say to people, "Oh, that's Florence. She's just talking to us." So I've really made her, how do I say this? I really made her a friend of mine, because she ain't going anywhere. So I need to be friends with her.
And that's something in your guide for people to prepare themselves to be comfortable about. I mean, as comfortable as you can be. It's an adjustment, but it's going to look weird. People are going to react to the way it looks. It's going to sound weird, and sometimes it might smell weird.
Yeah.
And it's important the way we respond to all of that, our attitudes, and our mindset about that will affect others. And if we put the fear, put the embarrassment, put those things aside, and recognize I'm doing this to save my life. I'm doing this so I can be with the people I love. I'm doing this so I can serve all the people I serve in my work. That kind of shifts things a little bit. And let me ask you this: what do you hope before? And when we're going to finish a couple of questions, and we're going to go to the audience, because we will have a whole half hour to have questions and answers with Jane. But my last question is: what do you hope that the colostomyqueen.com website, the coaching and consulting that you're doing with people who are going through this experience, those who are having a colostomy and having to live with that and having to deal with their families. What's your hope, the big picture, your goal with what you would love to see happen because of the work that you're doing?
I think first and foremost is to shine a light on colon cancer being one of the deadliest cancers. I also would like to mostly be of service in whatever way we can in building a huge platform from everything from exercise, nutrition, sexual health, mental health, emotional health, everything that people go through, what to wear, how do you travel, all these things that are, there's a little bit here and there, but to really create a platform that becomes normalized. Because right now it's not normalized. Most people don't know anybody who has this. But every time I go buy supplies, my guy keeps telling me, Jane, there's more and more people, they're younger and younger. And to really bring awareness to this type of disease, that it is preventable. And I am to blame for myself because I did not listen. Like I ignored it. I thought, I'm immune from this. I'm a nutritionist. I do all these things, but nobody's immune from these types of things. So to create awareness and to provide tools that are everyday tools for people and also to help families, because I've also reached out, or people have reached out to me whose mother's going through this or their father's going through this, and they don't know how to navigate this because they don't want to change people's bags and all of these things, but to bring a lightness to it, to help people understand that this is not as bad as it seems. It truly isn't as bad as, sometimes I forget I actually have it. But it's not as bad as it seemed, but to create something that if you have any type of question and if you have any type of concern, that we will be able to really be able to answer that and to help guide people on their journey and help their family members guide them. And, I was blessed. My husband's a saint because he's had to do cleanup on aisle 4, 1955, 62. It's like, we've had some moments, like, honestly, you have no idea. And my kids have been fantastic and my friends have been absolutely phenomenal. So that gave me such support. So I guess in a way, we want the Colostomy Queen to be that, like a place where they can go and feel safe, and they don't have to apologize for this. They're not afraid to come to this site. But because this is all brand new, we're going to be able to provide them with the resources that they're looking for. So that's really our big goal. And we've only just started this, and we've had phenomenal response from this. Actually, I'll tell you, the day that I revealed Florence on Instagram, I was really having a moment, and I had to call my friend Todd in Bangkok and say, "You look at the video first. I can't look. Like, is it okay? Because I'm like showing my naked part of my body." He goes, "It's fine. Just do it. You're going to be fine." So once I got her out, then I'm like, I'm okay with this now, because it's like, you flashed it and now she's out and everybody's seen it and it's no big deal.
Wow. So again, thecolostomyqueen.com is the website. Please, for our own education, for the education of friends and family, go to that, get the information. Also, Jane is an incredible resource to talk about what to do to prevent, right, the conditions that could lead to that through proper nutrition, proper, going and having, regular checkups. So please go to that website, thecolostomyqueen.com. With that, we're going to open it up to questions. And by the way, we're not here just for tonight. This is recorded. There are a number of people watching on Facebook. And by the way, if you're on Facebook and you have a question that you want me to ask Jane, please just put it in the comment and I will ask her. This will stay on my Facebook page for several weeks, but by the end of the week, I edit it and I put it up on my YouTube channel. And you want to go to Mike DeLuca podcast.com, real simple, Mike DeLuca podcast.com. That takes you to my YouTube channel. and you'll be able to see this episode in a few days. This is one of those episodes really important to share with people. I don't make any revenue from this show, from the podcast, from the YouTube channel, don't sell anything. I do this strictly as a gift of love and education for the world. So this particular topic needs to be shared with everybody. And you were mentioning, Jane, that it's not necessarily something that is just for folks, over 50. Even though they say after 40, you really should be starting to get, a colonoscopy. It might strike somebody who's a young adult. We don't know. So we really have to be careful. We have to be aware, and we have to be paying attention to what is going into our body, what's going on inside of our body, and what are all the options available for prevention. And if we're too late for prevention, lots of options for treatment. This does not have to be like the way it is right now, with this number of people dying. And I think, Jane, your story reflects why there's such a large number of people who are dying, and that is they're afraid to go get screened. They're afraid to go get treatment. They're afraid to be embarrassed. I'd rather be embarrassed than be dead. That's just the way I am. So please, folks, please go to thecolostomyqueen.com. Get educated, not just for yourself, for your friends, your relatives, coworkers, neighbors, whoever and whatever, right? An educated person is a gift to the world, certainly a gift to yourself.
I actually thought, because I was a nutritionist, that there's no way that I, of all people, like seriously would have it. But, cancer doesn't, what's the word? It doesn't
discriminate.
Doesn't discriminate. 100% doesn't discriminate. And, I had that moment with Katie Kirk's husband. I had the stuff that came from the government. I had that little pouch in my drawer. And it was there, and I chose to not do it. And that is one of the biggest regrets I've ever had in my life, is to not have gone for that, because I thought this was going to be an uncomfortable, painful thing. And as a matter of fact, my colonoscopy the first time, I didn't feel a darn thing. And no, I did wake up to bad news, but I didn't feel anything. And I've since had colonoscopies with the stoma, which is really interesting, because now they go through my stomach to do it. And I go regularly, and I still have to have CAT scans, because they have to follow you for several years to make sure that everything's fine. And I'm just so grateful that I live in Canada, and we can do this, and we have the ability to, run up to the hospital and get whatever you need. And I will say too, something that surprised me a lot was the kindness from the doctors, the nurses, the radiologists, the people who are doing the chemotherapy, my friends, the food that I received, the flowers. My house was full, the support, because there was days I couldn't eat anything. There was days where I felt so nauseous. There were days where I couldn't get off the couch. I was so grateful to have such an incredible group of family and friends that helped me get through that. And now with anybody else going through that, I'll be there. I'll drive you to chemo. Like, you need somebody to take you there, because it was really sad for me to watch and observe going to the chemo center. Many of these people who were having their 4-hour treatments were there by themselves. And that's, if they can get somebody to come with them just for those hours, it would be incredibly supportive, because we really need that extra support at that time. So I was blessed with that.
Are you creating a community through your website? and through the work that you're doing? Is that something in the
Yeah, we
future?
are definitely starting to create a community because
Great,
as I said to you, we
great.
started this and we're just like amazed. And I've had two people stop me on the street, people who know me, but they, oh my God, Jane, I have no idea. This is amazing. Neither one of these people have anything to do with it, but they're just so grateful that I'm helping other people because they don't have any association with it, but they're just so grateful that somebody's actually, kind of breaking the doors down for this because it is a cancer that needs to be taken seriously. And, and even for me, I didn't want to do the surgery. I didn't want to do the chemo. I didn't want to do the radiation, but I'm here. I'm alive. And was it fun? No. I have neuropathy still in my feet from the chemo, but I go every 2 weeks for acupuncture and I'm pretty much pain-free. So really there's nothing left. I mean, I have Florence, and a little bit of pain on my feet, but that's it. So
Thank you. We have another question from our Zoom audience. Thelma, you've been patient raising your hand. What would you like to ask?
Oh, I don't think I have any questions, Mike. I have so many things I'd like to say.
Please.
And I'd like to keep my composure while I do that. I find this very emotional. Um, I would just like to say that Jane has helped me with the metabolic balance diet. And that's how we met. I had no idea that you were going through this. And when you mentioned that you have regret that you didn't take those tests, I thought, there's always this plan, isn't there?
mhm.
And we agree to it without knowing. We agree to these things on another level. And so I don't know. You had all the warnings and you said no. I agreed to do this.
Yep.
So I'm going through with it.
Yep.
That's kind of the way I saw it when you said you had regret.
Yeah, I know I was supposed to do this, but I could have potentially changed the course of my life, right? I think that's
Mhm.
my regret. Maybe I
Yeah.
didn't need to go through this, but I will say now that I'm here, this is the best thing that ever happened to me, Thelma, on all levels. As weird as that sounds, this truly is the best thing that ever happened to me because it's changed my life completely. My heart is more open. I am so grateful to wake up, to be able to go to yoga, to still be working, to be able to, I can't pick up, I have little baby grandchildren. I can't hold them on my left side and I can't do rock climbing or things that would put any pressure here, but I can do every single thing else that I want to do.
Mhm.
And that's the neat thing about this too. So I'm able to live fully. And that's what I really, and fully and unapologetically. And I want people with the Colostomy Queen to do the same thing too. And, if you have to leave a party because your bag is full, well, trust me, that's happened to me. Like, see you guys, I gotta go. She's having a bad day. And we make fun of it. And, you know, there's been some, I'll tell a funny story. I was fitted with a bag and the colostomy nurse said, Jane, you're so active. You need a bag that has a liner inside the bag. And so then you can flip it off the stoma and you can pop in a liner, which is biodegradable, and you can just pop it out, throw it down the toilet and put on another liner in. So that was fine. But I ended up in somewhere in the States at a seminar. I went to the bathroom, took the liner out. It was a farm, a beautiful restaurant in a farmhouse. And I go to the bathroom, I take the bag out, throw it down the toilet. Well, she wouldn't flush. It's like, oh my God, please don't tell me I have to go in there and get her and throw it to, so what a humbling experience. I actually literally had to go in there, tried flushing the toilet. It just wasn't going to happen. Took it out of there, wrapped it all up, threw it in the garbage can, came out of the washroom, and I said to my friends, oh my God, I can't believe that was such a humbling thing. I've never had to do that. But I thought, this is part of life. This is something that and we all started to laugh because it was actually awful, but it was funny too at the same time. And I thought, this is where I'm so grateful that I was able to see the humor in it. Because most people would be mortified at that. Like, let's be honest, right? It was like one of those experiences that, like, yeah, this is how it is, and I'm not apologizing. So,
And sheet happens, right? Sheet
yeah,
happens.
yes.
So, uh, another question. Thank you, Thelma. I have a question here from one of our Facebook people who are joining us on Facebook. She wanted to know, Jane, what do you eat in a day now that you have your colostomy and you've had the colon surgery?
So I usually have like full fat yogurt with like mango or papaya or bananas with some flaxseed oil. I can't eat flax seeds anymore. Lunch, I'm able to have like a midstream multi-grain bread I take a half an avocado because I really need the fat because I work out so much. And then I usually have either chicken or salmon or eggs. And then I'm able to have more fruit, like an apple or a pear, those types of things. And then dinner time is vegetables are very, very limited. So I'm able to have like sweet potatoes, butternut squash, carrots, green beans, asparagus. That's basically the only vegetables I can eat. But the proteins are all fine. No rice, no quinoa, white rice, yes, pasta, yes. But it's pretty plain. Lots of fish, lots of chicken, lots of no blueberries, strawberries, yes. And then if I want a snack, I like salt, I eat pretzels. But I can't have any nuts. So I really rely a lot on bananas and avocados because I need the fuel to keep going. If it's got too much fiber, then she's not happy. And if it doesn't have enough fiber, she's also not happy. So I try to do it. That's kind of a day. And even a bagel sometimes, a white bagel, which I don't really want to eat, but it's the one thing that I can manage.
We talked earlier about the studies that have come out about how our diet can significantly contribute to irritation of the colon, development of polyps, and then eventually development of colon cancer. Because of all your extensive expertise in nutrition, could you give us, and again, our program is not about prevention, cure or diagnosis of anything, but there's enough data out there to where we can be safe to say certain approaches to our diet can help our body better deal with these types of potentials. Could you give us a little bit of
Sure. I've
knowledge on that?
always coined this phrase that there are 5 new food groups: frozen, fast, fried, junk, and processed foods. They're usually beige, they usually lack water, they usually lack enzymes, and they're a big part of today's world and when people are eating them. So if man makes it, if it comes in a bag, box, pickup window, or vending machine, it's probably not food. So what we really want to be doing, and this is the thing that I've always done, is eat food in its most natural state. And you want colorful foods. You don't want your plate to be beige. You want it to have like blueberries and strawberries and tomatoes and salmon, which is red. The more color you have, the more nutrients you're going to get. But with the processed foods, they have a tendency to linger longer in the large intestine. They don't have the fiber to be help to eliminate them out there. I also think that people drink a lot of pop, soda pop in the States and pop here in Canada. And this is not a food group. This is something that's very acid forming and has a ton of chemicals in it. And there's just, if you just walk into the grocery store, really the only food is along the border of the grocery store. So you've got your fruit, your vegetables, your meat, your cheeses, your eggs, your grains, but the rest of that stuff is pretty much in the middle. It's pretty dead food. And, people have busy lives. I understand that. I had 3 boys, we had to take them to football and do all those things, but I always tried to make sure that they were given like a big plate of vegetables, and we had lots of fruit, and we ate lots of grains. But the diet is becoming more and more processed, ultra processed, and it's addictive because they put so many chemicals in there too. So the less you can eat of that, the better your chances of really not getting this type of cancer. But then again, I did get it and I ate that way. So we still all have to be extremely careful with what we eat, how we think, how much water we drink. That's a big one. I'm a big water drinker. And I really do think that we need to drink a ton of water to keep that system flushed, and also to exercise. So because your colon can only move through peristalsis, which means it does this kind of movement, but movement enables your colon to eliminate the feces. And when people say to me as a nutritionist, I haven't gone to the bathroom for 2 weeks, this is not a good sign. This happens. I hear this all the time. That is 42 meals that you haven't pooped out. That's all sitting in your gut. That's all causing a problem. So, we want to increase the fibers, we want to increase the water, we want to increase the exercise, because you don't think that that's normal. Even going for 3 days is not normal. We really need to be going all the time. Wake up and go every single day. Some people go twice a day. I always went to the bathroom. I have wicker furniture to prove it. So yeah, diet's a big one.
And again, all of this information can be reached through the colostomyqueen.com, and also Jane has other websites that will talk about her metabolic diet kitchen, her new book. All of that information is out there. It's also available through Amazon. So please, do it for yourself, do it for your family, do it for me. And Jane, we care. Just, go there, start getting educated, start gathering information. The more you know, the less scary this all is, right? And invest in yourself, right? Invest with knowledge, invest with prevention. Take the time to deal with the fear, and the greatest combat for fear is love and information. Love and education are the 2 things that will help you overcome that fear. And dedicate yourself to be healthier. Dedicate yourself to live a longer life with purpose. A longer life where you can help others, because whatever we experience and learn from, again, it's for us to learn from, but it's also to make us more valuable to the world.
Mm-hmm.
And the world needs us to be here, and it needs us to show up and serve and create value.
Mm-hmm.
And wisdom through experience creates a lot of value. Yeah.
I just want to add to that, one tool that can combat fear. I know it totally works for me, is humor.
Yeah.
I can get somebody to laugh my ass off about something.
Yeah.
It's a bit off color, maybe. It just busts up all those fear patterns, and I can line up, and I can get my courage comes back. If I can, I have a fear of heights, and I had somebody laugh me all the way up, climbing up, a 200-foot cliff once, just because they kept, telling jokes and making me laugh. And I was able to get up to the top of that cliff. I mean, my hands sweat just even thinking about that, but I was able to do it because of the humor. Because humor is a big form of love.
You know, in Maryland, it's funny because I was out of town on a vacation and we had to drive all the way back to Toronto to get a CAT scan and drive all the way back on vacation. We just got there the day before. And I went on to my Instagram account and I found these people who were comedians. And so I played their episodes the whole way there, the whole way back. And even when I was in Costa Rica, all I watched all day were these funny things. And we just went to see one actually a few months ago. And we're going to another one in December because I got so hooked on it, because it just, when you have humor, it lightens everything and it takes your mind off of what you're going through. And it just filled me with so much joy because it was hilarious to listen to these things. And I'm addicted all about humor. So anything funny I can watch, I watch it all the time. So
Who are you going to see in December?
we're going to see, oh, I'll tell you in a second.
I'm sure you've all watched Mrs. Brown and
Yeah, we see Mrs. Brown, but we're also going to
Monty Python.
we're going to see well, Jeff Dunham I saw in the summertime. He does puppets. He's got like 4 puppets that he runs at one time. He's a ventriloquist. And the other guy that we're going to go see is Maximini. And he is hilarious. So yeah, I just think that humor is, driving all the way from that vacation into Toronto on a rainy day and then all the way back. It was like, we have to have some fun in the car, because at this point, it was early in the diagnosis and I didn't know what to expect, but all I knew is I can't look out the window and feel sorry for myself. I need to be distracted. And I was, so I was really grateful for that.
Well,
It's actually been extensively studied.
Jane, you're putting it on yourself.
Yeah, extensively studied the effects of humor and comedy on our immune system and our ability to fight cancer as a tool. Every night before we go to bed, my wife and I watch something funny, and then before I go to sleep, I do my meditation. That makes such a huge difference in your mindset, before you go to sleep. And if you do that every day, it definitely has an effect on your body, as well as on your mind. So definitely, there's so much out there in the world that's real serious stuff. We need to be able to expose ourselves regularly to light, sound, love, laughter, and service, creating value. Yeah. Let's see. Any other questions? That's it on Facebook. Any other questions out there before we sum up for tonight? Anyone else in our Zoom audience? Okay. If not, I will do one more plug on here we go, on our PowerPoint. So again, want to leave you with the website, thecolostomyqueen.com. Please go there. Please educate yourself. Please download the 2 free guides. Guide number 1, navigating your first 30 days before and after diagnosis. And then guide number 2, navigating your first 30 days post-surgery, as well as a whole list of very, very important information is there on that site. Finally, just to remind you folks, this will be on my Facebook site, but for all of the people out there who are not my Facebook friend, and there's 7,900,000 plus people who are not my Facebook friend in the world, please spread the word. They can watch this episode, after this Wednesday on MikeDeLucaPodcast.com. That takes you right to my YouTube channel, and they'll be able to watch this episode, previous episodes with Jane, previous episodes with all kinds of amazing, incredible people in the realm of wellness and health, personal development, quantum physics, and spirituality. I think we've recorded now close to 200 or maybe over 200 episodes since 2020 when we started this. So please take the time and go visit some of these episodes and meet some of these incredible people. Jane, it's been an honor to have you on the show again. It's been a real eye-opening and educating experience. I'm incredibly grateful to you, not just for what you do, but for who you are, how you inspire people. And we love you, and I love all of you out there. And grateful that you came tonight to join us. Grateful that you're taking steps to make yourself healthier, happier, and make a better contribution to the world. Because you can, just by being the best version of you can be. You're making the world a better place. So with that, I'm going to say goodnight and hope to see you again in our next show. And you can always tell when that's going to be. It'll be announced on my Facebook page and please join my email list because you'll get 2 emails to remind you that a show is coming up and who are the guests. And again, please go to MikeDeLucaPodcast.com and join the YouTube channel. The more subscribers we have to it, there's no cost. More people subscribe, the more play we get and the more visibility we get. And please go to thecolostomyqueen.com. Okay, with that, thank you. Have a great night, a great week, a great life. Love you all, grateful for you all, and we will see you next time.
Thank you.
Take care.
So much.
No, you're so welcome. Thanks again, Jane, for being with us.
Thank you.
And thank you all for being with us. Take care.